Happy Tuesday! This week on Tuesday Talks, the question is, who are your favorite authors and why? I've managed to narrow it down, and I have prepared a short list. Ready? Okay, seriously? I hate this question. This question is worse than what's your favorite book, because at least with the favorite book question, I can kind of look on Goodreads and just go by my 5 stars and list like my 10 favorites from the previous year. But authors are so hard. I did end up looking on Goodreads, and I did actually get it narrowed down to about 10. These are authors that I have read more than one book or series, and that's just because authors can be really different from book to book or series to series, and I didn't want to pick somebody that I ended up later reading a different one of their books and didn't like as much. Even with J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, Casual Vacancy and then her Robert Galbraith books are very different, and while I did like Cuckoo's Calling, it's definitely not the Harry Potter level that I wanted. So for these authors, not only did I read more than one book or series, but I also gave all of their books or series that I have read 4 or 5 stars. And because there was absolutely no way I was going to torture myself further and try to put them in some kind of order of who I liked most or least or whatever, I just put them in alphabetical order. And I'm just going to give you a real short explanation as to why I gravitate toward this author's books. Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is a classic writer. She's actually the only classic writer on the list, and I picked her because she has wonderful characters. Like I've said numerous times, my favorite character of all time is Sarah Crewe, which is in her book A Little Princess. All the characters in The Secret Garden are the same way, that they are incredibly dynamic, they have these strong internal conflicts, and they really change and grow throughout the book, and that's a lot of what makes her stories so amazing. Neil Gaiman, not only are his books super imaginative, he is just a cool guy in general. I've watched a lot of different videos, I've read blogs and interviews and things with him, and he just seems like somebody who would be so cool to hang out with or sit down and have coffee with. And sometimes I read his stuff more because I know how he is behind the book than because I'm really that interested in the story. I do really enjoy his stuff, though the third person, like, distant narrator POV that he writes in isn't my favorite, and I have a hard time getting into it. I don't think I've ever actually given any of his books 5 stars, but they've all gotten 4. But like I said, as just an author person, he is amazing. Alright, now I'm probably gonna butcher this one. I think it's pronounced Khaled Hosseini. He's most well known for The Kite Runner. I love him because he does write about a culture outside of the United States. Pretty sure he actually is Afghani himself, but he writes stories about the Afghani people. And they're incredibly beautiful stories. They're heartbreaking. And he is so good at building compassion for a culture outside of my own that every time I read his books, I feel like I come away with a deeper understanding of the world in general, and people and life and suffering. And anytime you read a book that changes you like that, it's a good thing. Then there's Sue Monk Kidd. She does a very similar thing as Khaled Hosseini, but in a very different genre. She is probably best known for The Secret Life of Bees. She just recently wrote The Invention of Wings, and both of those are historical books. The Secret Life of Bees was, I think, like the 40s. The Invention of Wings was older, it was like the 1840s. But I think all of her books are historical. I haven't read The Mermaid Chair yet, so I'm not sure about that one. But her stories are also incredibly powerful and beautiful, and they really teach you something about life and just the human condition. Of course, Stephen King. His name probably appears behind me on my bookshelves more than any other name. He is just super powerful writer. His style is amazing. He's weird and strange, and every time I pick up one of his books, I know that it's going to be a journey. It's not going to be what I expected, but it's going to be awesome the whole time. David Levithan. He likes to do a lot of buddy writing. He wrote a book with John Green. He writes a lot of books with Rachel Cohn, and he's written some on his own, and every time I read something that he's had his hands on, it's a fabulous story. They're just all so good for different reasons. They're great characters. It's a fun world. I just always enjoy something that he's had a part in. Stephenie Meyer. Now I know she has a rap for not being the greatest writer. First of all, do you have any idea how many books she sold? Second of all, her real strength is in storytelling. The Twilight books never would have taken off if everybody didn't fall in love with Edward and Bella, even with all of their issues and problems. The world that they live in is amazing, and even if every single aspect of her writing isn't perfect, there definitely is growth. You can see changes by Breaking Dawn. The Host was actually well written. That one doesn't get a lot of attention, but that was a really great story too. And I've loved everything of hers that I've ever read. I hope she gets back to writing and writes something else because, hello, it's been a few years, Steph. Maggie Stiefvater. Not only does Maggie write amazing urban fantasy that I end up completely adoring, she is like the silliest author ever. She has fainting goats, she's into fast cars, she plays the harp and the bagpipes, she draws, and is a totally amazing artist. She's just incredible in so many different ways. I love following her. Every time I get a tweet or an Instagram picture across my feed that's one of hers, it makes me laugh and it's interesting. So her stories are great and she's just great. I would love to meet Maggie, and I would maybe stalk her until she became my friend. Donna Tartt. You probably know her from The Goldfinch, which is her most recent book and won, I don't know, some kind of big, huge award. Her stories tend to be really in-depth. The Goldfinch especially was super long, but it was not the kind of book that I got sick of reading, and it's because of the way she writes her characters. She's not afraid to have an anti-hero, but she writes them in a way that still makes them lovable. So, especially in The Goldfinch, Theo is off doing some really horrible things. You're like, yeah, I still want him to succeed. Wait, I shouldn't want him to succeed. Oh, but it's Theo. And I don't know how she does it. It takes a special kind of skill to really pull that off well. Kurt Vonnegut. He's probably been one of my favorite authors the longest. I think I read Slaughterhouse-Five back in college when I was maybe like 19 or 20. And since then I've read more of his books. He is just strange and kind of fun, quirky, bizarre kind of way. Every one of his books is a journey, but it's like a psychological kind of adventure where you know there's gonna be weirdness, and it just ends up coming together at the end and you're like, what just happened? And I have a little bonus one. I'm gonna throw Diana Gabaldon out there, even though all I've really read of hers is Outlander. I think that's actually all she's really written. But the fact that I love these books so much and the way that she writes is so amazing, I just had to add her in there. So tell me down below, what are some of your favorite authors? Thanks for watching!